Hello, everybody. My name is Stacia, and I'm just a girl on the internet that likes to talk about movies. And this week's movie is going to be the 1975 movie Rollerball. I have to say, I like my sci fi movies with a 70s flair, and Rollerball fits this bill. The director of this movie is Norman Jewison, the same guy who brought you In the Heat of the Night. He also did movies like Moonstruck and The Hurricane, A Soldier's Story, and Justice for All, Fiddler on the Roof, and now Rollerball. This is a movie about a corporate-controlled future, and there is an ultra-violent sport called Rollerball. And what corporations fear in this future is that one person would stand out against the crowd. So when an athlete becomes a star and his name is chanted by crowds, there's nothing worse for them in the world. It means they lose a little bit of their control. And the future that this movie is talking about is 2018, 7 years ago. This movie stars James Caan as the breakout star athlete Jonathan E. that they're pretty much trying to eliminate. The corporations are pretty much trying to get rid of him because they think his stardom gives him too much power. Then we have John Houseman as Bartholomew, the power-hungry CEO corporate man who is seeking to control the athlete. We also have Maude Adams as Ella. She is James Caan's character's ex-wife who he loses because the corporation doesn't like them together. And then we have Jonathan E.'s best friend Moon Pie, who is played by John Beck. And in this future, corporations have pretty much replaced everything in charge. There is no presidency. There's really no countries. Corporations have replaced all countries. Like I said, the game of Rollerball is kind of used to control the population. The point of Rollerball is demonstrating that there is futility in individuality. And so this is why when one player rises to the top, they're not very happy with it. And do not get this mixed up with the remake of Rollerball that came out in 2002. Just pretend like that remake never happened. The 1975 version is a much, much better movie. And this is another one of those 70s movies that is the dystopian future where kind of books and knowledge have been outlawed. It's all downloaded to a central computer. There's no hard copies of anything anymore. And since the corporations control everything, they say this computer can't be manipulated by corporations, but it's obvious that they can. Does it sound familiar to anybody? And with all 70s sci-fi movies about the future, they think at the time they're making it where it doesn't look of the time that it is, but when you watch this nowadays, it is definitely a 70s look and feel to it. I heard that they paid the men extras in this $1,000 extra to cut their hair so it wouldn't look like the 70s. And I don't think they pulled that off. I think James Caan, too, is a unique choice for the lead of this movie. Not that he doesn't pull it off, but I never thought of James Caan as the ultimate athlete type, but that's what he portrays in this movie. His character is the one that takes over the minds and imaginations of the people that enjoy the sport of rollerball. This is at the height of James Caan's fame also. This is right after, a few years after The Godfather. And this was James Caan's time. But he wouldn't have been my first choice for the male lead of this movie, but I still enjoy him in this role. And rollerball as a sport of ultra violence is sort of like this hybrid roller derby where you can kill people or maim people with this hardened ball that goes around the track, and I don't exactly know the point of Rollerball other than at the end it's to kill all of your opponents, which comes to be the whole ultimate death sport through rule changes where the corporations are trying to get rid of the Jonathan E. character. So people stop chanting his name and stop giving him even a little bit of control. They're trying to force him to retire, and when he doesn't take that bait, that is what they resort to. And James Caan was really cast in this role by Norman Jewison by playing his other sports role, the 1971 movie Brian Song, where he plays the real-life Chicago Bears running back Brian Piccolo, who succumbed to cancer. And so that's what inspired him to take somebody like James Caan, who I don't think a lot of people see him as a sports figure, and cast him in this role. Norman Jewison was also quite inspired by Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange in this film. And I think when you watch this, you can really see that inspiration and the look of Stanley Kubrick, where the color palette and the choices of the look of this film really harken to a Stanley Kubrick type of film. And I'm not saying this film is without its flaws. It's not a perfect telling of the story. It has its hokey moments, as a lot of 70s sci-fi does, but it's really thought-provoking now of the story that it comes to, and the performances are good. It's very 70s and very dated when you look at it today, but very much worth the watch. It brings up some thought-provoking questions, especially in our world that we live in today, where all information is basically, we still have books and everything, but you have to go through corporations on the internet to get, you have to Google something. There's no sets of encyclopedias anymore. There is a certain air of Rollerball in today. The screenplay for this movie was written and adapted by William Harrison. He actually adapted his own short story called The Rollerball Murder, which first appeared in an issue of Esquire in 1973. And Norman Jewison, besides the corporate takeover of society, was looking at the ultra violence in a sport like rollerball as a statement also. He was actually horrified that people were so taken by rollerball. People wanted to license the sport so they could actually make rollerball leagues, and he would never actually let that happen. So that didn't come to fruition. But you do have roller derby, which is similar without the, killing people part, and the ball, and also in rollerball you have like motorcycles in there, so it will remind you of roller derby, but with a lot of differences. Critically, this movie, when it was released, was kind of a mixed review. It's the you either loved it or hate it type of things. Some people thought it was fun. Some people thought it was a half-baked attempt at a satirical view of the world, trying to make a point but didn't really do well at it. New York Times reviewer Vincent Canby was unimpressed. Gene Siskel gave it 2 out of 4 stars and called it a movie that's in love with itself. But The Hollywood Reporter claimed it was the most original and imaginative and technically proficient peek into our future society since the movie 2001. Jonathan Rosenbaum of the Monthly Film Bulletin said it was a classic demonstration of how several millions of dollars can be unenjoyably wasted. So it's kind of an up and down of people really liking it or really hating it at the time. I think as the last 50 years that have gone by, there's again the revisionist history of looking at it through today's lens. And it's actually a cult classic. A lot of people like this movie now and embrace the message that it was trying to take. And even though at times it does seem like it's trying too hard, they embrace the movie for what it was. And Rollerball was shot in and around Europe. It was shot in Germany, Switzerland, and England. And Rollerball at the time when it came out was a hit. It wasn't a runaway hit, but it was a hit and really gained popularity in the burgeoning home rental market in the 1980s. And a little bit of film urban legend and lore around this movie. There was always a rumor that somebody was killed during the making of this movie while playing Rollerball. And that is not true. Several people did get hurt while making the movie, while playing Rollerball in the movie, but nobody was killed. Having said that, this is actually the first major Hollywood movie that gives screen credit to the stunt performers. And a funny thing of this movie is that with there really being no countries and everything's controlled by corporations, there's no like national anthems or flags anymore. And there's actually a corporate national anthem that plays before each game. It actually inspired the group Devo to write their own tongue-in-cheek rendition of Devo's corporate anthem for their 1979 album Duty Now for the Future. And they used it as an introduction at their concerts. Norman Jewison stated that the movie could be taken as a metaphor for the creative artists struggling against the corporate mediocrity of Hollywood and the executive groupthink therein, which really, again, makes you think about how Hollywood movies sit today, how the studios who are all controlled by these tech corporations now really think of movies as content instead of art. But if you like 70s sci-fi movies like I do, and you like your futuristic movies on the dystopian side, I really think you should give Rollerball a chance if you've never seen it, or if it's been years since you've seen Rollerball. It came out 50 years ago. So this year is its 50th anniversary. And we recently, in the last couple of years, lost James Caan, and I think this is a great movie to honor him with. So check out Rollerball. Remember, the 1975 one, not the 2002 one, because that movie is trash. But thank you again for joining me. If you love movies and love talking about movies as much as I do, consider subscribing to my channel. That's what we do here. Like I said, I'm just a girl on the internet that likes to talk about movies. And if you are just a person that likes to talk about movies too and don't have too many people around you to talk about them about, subscribe to the channel and comment on the videos, because I will most likely respond to your comment. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers this year, so that would really help also. And give me a thumbs up and share this with other people if you have other people in your life you know like movies like you and I do. But thank you for joining me. My name is Stacia. I will see you next week with another movie, but I love you all. Bye.